Okay, so I feel the need to do a video. Probably because I had Casey Stern over here yesterday of the Vegetable Police. I'm sure most of you are aware of him by now. If not, check out his channel, The Vegetable Police. Yeah, we didn't do any video shoots or anything like that. I didn't feel like he was in the mood for that. He just wanted to chill. We talked a lot. We shared, I had some grass-fed beef kidney, so we had a little bit of that. I cooked up some venison for us and some smoked fermented bison. And yeah, we just had a good afternoon together. So that kind of made me in the mood for putting a video up today and talking about my situation with the whole carnivore diet and where I'm at with that. If there's a lot of people trying carnivore now, a meat-based diet, and for me it was interesting because, you know, if anybody of you have followed my videos in the past, I was vegan for 9 years. And then in 2016, because I felt like I was deficient in certain nutrients like omega-3, I decided to go back to eating meat again. But I was doing it like, I was still mostly plant-based. I only ate meat once a week, and it would usually be something like a wild sockeye or venison or grass-fed beef, things like that, you know, but not very small portions, and again, only once a week. And as time went on, like, I was still a firm believer in eating plant-based. That was still in my mind. I really believed that plants were the most valuable foods for nutrition, for human nutrition, and that you just needed meat sort of, it was like an insurance policy, just to, you know, to make sure that you were getting everything in your diet. And that was otherwise difficult to get from plants, like omega-3, DHA, EPA. Is it EPA? I think it is, yeah. And that worked fine. You know, I felt good. But as time went on, things were beginning to change. I was having serious problems with my teeth. That actually started back in 2012. I was getting these, when I was a vegan, I was getting these really bad infections, and ended up having to get 2 of my back teeth removed. And that sort of subsided for a while, but then just recently, within the last year, more infections started coming, and more teeth had to come out. Right now, I have dentures, both bottom and top, for my front here, my front teeth. I will be eventually getting implants and bridges put in place so I don't have to have dentures. I hate them, but you know, it's better than not having any teeth in the front, because that's totally noticeable. But yeah, so it's funny, like, I was at the point where in the last year or two, I was thinking, you know what, I was really considering going back to being vegan again, because I love plant foods, especially cuisine, plant-based dinners. They're lovely. They're full of flavor and interesting variety. It's all good, right? In terms of flavor and that sort of thing. And it looks pretty too. Plant-based desserts, amazing, you know? But so I'm thinking, okay, you know what? There's stuff that's not right with the way I'm eating right now. I also started to, you know, I was always hungry. I always had to, like, when I work in landscaping in the warm season, and I always would have to bring a big lunch of like fruits and high sweet fruits like dates, and also I'd have like little power bars, and I would be eating hummus on sourdough, but eating tons of food, a lot more than everybody else at work. And it was all plant-based, it was all vegan. but I had to consume a lot just to keep myself going. Like after a couple of hours, I feel like, oh, I need to, maybe eat a banana or something just to get the sugar levels back up again. And then in the evening time, like I would make these amazing vegan stews, like where it was a variety of different roots and lentil and beans and whatever you could throw in there. I had it in there, thinking that that would pretty much cover everything for my nutritional needs, and yet I was still feeling hungry, and then I started developing these strong cravings in the evening time for junk food, something that I hadn't experienced in years. And next thing you know, I find myself going to the variety store, picking up potato chips in the evening time and getting into this habit of eating stuff that I shouldn't be eating, really bad stuff. And so I'm thinking, but I'm still thinking plant-based. My mindset is still plant-based. It's funny because I was never an ideological vegan. Like I was not about animal rights activism. For me, it was always about the health. And so it was not too much trouble for me to say, okay, when I started to have anxiety issues that seemed to be clearly related to a lack of omega-3 in my diet, and then going to eat, and then starting to eat fish and seeing the problem resolved, that's when so I had, it wasn't too difficult for me to make that change. I didn't have that moral dilemma of, the animals, right? Because for me, it was about the health. So yeah, but still, I was still pretty much fixed in my mind that plants were the best foods, and I wanted to get back to eating vegan again. And then just before Christmas time, I had this massive infection. The whole side of my face blew up. And so I had to make an emergency appointment with a specialist downtown Toronto, and they immediately started giving me antibiotics through intravenous, and then I was prescribed some really powerful antibiotics, and they said it was going to destroy my gut bacteria. I should take a probiotic with it as well. But expect to have really serious digestive problems while you're taking these, and it could even last for months after you finish the prescription. And so at that time, I was starting to notice the carnivore videos on YouTube, and hearing about how fiber is what we think of fiber that is supposed to be good for digestion, but in reality, it's not. It makes digestion difficult. It makes the absorption of nutrients difficult. And I thought to myself, okay, well, why don't I just try this carnivore thing while I'm on antibiotics? I'm just going to eat nothing but beef while I'm taking the antibiotics. We'll do it for the next few days and see how it goes. And so I did that, and it was, I didn't have the digestion issues that I expected to have, what I was warned that I would experience, like severe diarrhea. It didn't happen. In fact, if anything, my digestion was pretty stable. I had the occasional episode of diarrhea while taking antibiotics, but it was minimal. It was nothing really compared to what it could have been. And then I also noticed while I was eating that way that I was experiencing other benefits like clarity of thought, sustained energy, not like when you eat a ton of fruit or a high carb meal, you get like a sugar boost. You get energized for a short period of time, but then it doesn't take long before you crash from that, and then you've got to sort of get those sugar levels back up again. This was just a constant energy burn throughout the day with a clear focus. And I was finding that I was able to get a lot more done in the day, and I didn't need to take an afternoon nap. And also, I didn't need as much sleep in the evening times, and that kind of bothered me at first because I used to love like sleeping long periods of time, and here I just wasn't needing it. And so that kind of I think, well, this is okay. This is working out. And so after the antibiotics, I experimented more. I started learning about the ketogenic diet as well. And then, there's all these other different ways of doing it. And so I introduced MTC oil and doing bulletproof coffee, eating raw liver and raw eggs, and everything was going fine for a while. And then suddenly it just all turned on me. Like I was feeling like after I'd had my bulletproof coffee and my raw eggs, I was feeling ill. And then I'd get diarrhea. And I'm thinking, okay, so maybe I cut out the MTC oil. And that helped. It was just like, I think I was just overdoing stuff too quickly. My body was not accustomed to all of that. And I don't think, and the fact that I had been on some very strong antibiotics for like 10 days, my gut bacteria still hadn't had a chance to build up again. So I cut out the MTC oil, and then I started, I was still doing the raw eggs and the raw liver, and yet I was still getting episodes of diarrhea. And so then I thought, okay, cut out the raw eggs, and let's just, go back to cooking meat and stuff again. Like let's step it back a little. And let's introduce some more fruit into your diet. So I did that, and things started to stabilize. And then one night I decided to eat 2 hard-boiled eggs. And I went to bed a few hours later after that, and I ended up the whole night with severe diarrhea. And my eyes were like bloodshot. Like if it wasn't for the fact, like there was no blood in my stool. So that was the only thing that prevented me from calling 911. But other than that, I felt like I was dying. And I was saying to myself at that point that this is crazy. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going back to plant-based. I've had enough of experimenting with this. And yet, for some reason, I couldn't stop myself. I had to go back to it again, but I did things a little bit differently. I didn't rush back into eating raw meat again. So I was cooking my meat, and I reintroduced some vegetables as well. I was eating fermented sauerkraut and kimchi, eating fruit every day. Not a lot though, like maybe an apple, a banana, maybe an orange, very minimal amounts of fruit. And some berries. Every day I'd have some berries mixed in with some kefir. And that seemed to stabilize everything, and I got better. I also started taking some enzymes as well, and I think that helped, not in a magical kind of way, but it definitely, everything was stabilizing. So something was, I just don't think I had the enzymes, the gut bacteria to really deal with this drastic change in my diet. And so I would recommend to anybody, if they want to experiment with carnivore and you've been eating mostly plant-based up until then, take it easy. You could really mess yourself up if you jump into it too quickly. It's just your body is not used to it. It has to adapt. But now I'm pretty much back into a mostly meat-based diet. I do every day. I can't go 100% like a 100% true carnivore. I just love fruit, but the amount of fruit I eat is minimum. It's more just to refresh the palate. Like I find it refreshing, and it's easy to digest. It doesn't upset my digestion. If anything, it probably helps a little bit. So like I'll at lunch have an apple, or like today I'll have a mango because it's mango season now. But yeah, I keep it light on the fruit, but I have not completely eliminated it. Vegetables, I really don't have much use for it. If anything, I would, you know, I might include some herbs in my cooking, or things like parsley and cilantro. I like those, but like broccoli and lettuce and big bulks of vegetables, I don't have any use for it. It doesn't seem to do me any good. And so I've pretty much eliminated a lot of vegetables, except for the fermented, like the sauerkraut and kimchi. I do every day have a little bit of that before I eat my meat dinner in the evening time. I eat dairy as well. Kefir I really love, and like I mentioned just a moment ago, I mix it with blueberries. But again, the amount of blueberries is like a handful, not even a handful, maybe a quarter cup or something like that. I also eat cheese from raw milk that you can get. That it's made in France. I don't know why they even bother pasteurizing milk for cheese, but because you can buy it cheese as well made from raw milk, and it tastes so much better. And I'm now reintroducing again eating raw meat as well, like the kidney I had yesterday, and I actually kind of enjoyed that. It's and so I don't know where I'm going with all this. I don't know if this is good for me long term. I really don't know. I mean, I've been brainwashed like everybody else that cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, if it's too high, it's bad. But looking into it further, it's a little bit more complicated than that. There's a lot more going on than just what your cholesterol levels are, when you get a blood test at the doctor's office. But still, I'm doing this with caution. I feel great right now. And this is, basically what I'm basing on, how I feel. The benefits I'm experiencing from it in the short term are hard to give up. And so I'm hoping that long term it'll be fine. But it may not be. And if I run into some problems, I will have, just like when I ran into problems with veganism, if I run into problems with what I'm doing now, I'll change it up. I'm not married to it. But, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you one of the benefits that I really love. Shorter times in the toilet. I mean, as a plant-based eater, I would spend 45 minutes sometimes on the toilet every morning, and then even maybe have another dump later on in the day. And farting. I'll tell you, I remember the first date I went on back in, it was around 2012, shortly after, I separated from my ex. And we were out for dinner at an Asian restaurant, and I'm just like ready to explode with farts, right? I'm sitting there with this woman, and I had to excuse myself to go to the bathroom just to let all the gas out. That was embarrassing. That was awkward. I don't fart on this. I just don't fart. The only time, maybe just before I'm going to have a bowel movement, a couple farts. But that's it. Like, that is it. And it's great. I love it. The guys at work used to make fun of me all the time because I'd make these loud farts while I'm working. In landscaping, you're allowed to do that, right? If you're in an office, it would be a different story. I feel sorry for vegans who work in an office because I don't know how they can control that. But yeah, so that's a real bonus. And no bloating. I used to get really bloated as well eating plant-based, and now I just don't get bloated. My workouts are a lot better. I'm not getting bigger muscles or anything like that, and you know, at age 59, I'm not really after that kind of thing, but I am, like, I'm doing a lot of weight training during the winter time here because we have an exercise room in the condo, and I'm getting a lot stronger. Like, I'm really seeing results, and I'm not working out like hours on end. I do like a 40-minute, 45-minute workout in the morning, if that. Sometimes it's only half an hour. For maybe 3 days, I take a day off, and then I'm back at it again. Yeah, I mean, that was one thing when I was a vegan. I used to exercise like crazy. I felt I had to always be exercising. Like, if I ran, it wasn't enough to do a 10K run. I had to do a 20K run or even a 50K run. I remember one day I did 4 50K runs in a row, like one day after the other, and just obsessed with that. Or I'd be cooking dinner and I'd feel like I have to do push-ups while I'm cooking dinner, and like just obsessed with exercising. And like, if I stopped, everything would fall apart. So, you know, what's that all about? I don't know. And I noticed that with vegans too, is that they are very obsessed about working out, physical fitness. And yet, the way I'm eating now, not carnivore, but let's say meat-based, I don't, I'm totally relaxed about that. I just have my workout, and hold on, my phone is ringing. I'll let that pass. Yeah, I'll have my workout, and then I'm done. I go on with the rest of the day, and I don't even think about, you know, oh, I got to get in another push-up session, or I got to go out for a run or anything like that. I'm naturally an active person. I like to walk around a lot. You know, living where I do here in Toronto, all the stores, like everything I need, I can just walk to. So that's really good. But the real bonus, again, eating a meat-based diet, eliminating most of the vegetables, and having a little bit of fruit. The real benefit I experience is that really keeps me in this, is the mental aspect. I feel like, even after I started eating fish again and gave up being vegan because I was having these severe anxiety attacks, that helped. It improved things a lot. But now that meat is my staple, that I eat it every day, and the quality of the meat I'm eating is like primo, you know, grass-fed beef, wild game like venison, bison, wild sockeye, and other kinds of fish. This gives me a mental strength I don't think I've ever known, ever. And like, it's hard to explain. You have to experience it. Like, where before, you know, you'd have, you know how you get up and you've got a ton of things you got to do that day, and you want to do them all, and you know you're not going to be able to do them all, and you end up doing hardly anything because you just get overwhelmed by all the things that need to be done. Now it's like, okay, this has got to be done, this has got to be done, this has got to be done. I've got so much time in the day. Let's prioritize, let's do that. The emotions don't get in the way where I'm conflicted in my head. What should I do first? Oh, I don't feel like doing that. I just do it. I just do it. And it's done. Yeah. I could go on about it. I don't want to make it more than what it is either. You know, it's not magic. It's not like I found the answer to life. There's more to life than eating. Will it guarantee that I'll live to be 100? I don't know. And it's not, I'm not even pursuing that. This is not about longevity. I'm hoping that the science will be able to back it up at some point. They haven't, I don't think there's actually been any studies done on people who are eating exclusively meat or mostly meat for a long period of time and what the results will be. There's a lot of fear-mongering going on right now based in ignorance or based in old, irrelevant science. And it's especially coming from the vegan movement because they're losing followers, and I think they're a little bit nervous about what's going on, and they probably themselves are having health issues that they don't want to admit to, and they're afraid of the fact that they're going to have to go back to eating animals, and their ethics is creating a crisis, a moral crisis in their life. Do they allow themselves to let their health deteriorate and maybe even die earlier than what they should because of their beliefs? Anyhow, I think I've talked long enough. Casey, if you're watching this video, it was a pleasure having you over yesterday. I hope we will meet up again sometime in the near future, and take care, everybody.